Gather up! Gather up, gather up! How you doing? Oh! 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 Hey! Hey! How we doing? How we doing? Let me wait for them to gather Z. All they got to need? How y'all doing? All they got to need? And that's waiting for them to gather us up. I'm waiting for them to get. Oops! Wait, I'm forgetting something. Don't. Oi! How y'all doing? Welcome, let me pause my track. Oh, welcome. Welcome. It's time to what? Ring the bell. Ooh! If you have not met me before, my name is Ms. Janae, that's MIZZJINNAOI. Girl, and welcome to a new live show by yours truly, Miss Janae, called Ring the Bell. You guessed it. Ring the bell, girl. Ring the bell, girl. How y'all doing? How are you doing? I'm here to bring some merriment to your Monday night. Now, notice I didn't say every Monday night, because I will have things to do with you live. But from time to time, Monday to Monday, I plan to come to you to give you the ring-a-ling-ling, ring the hot bell. First of all, I'd like you to know that this program is rated M for Ms. audiences. How you like that? Hey! Woo! Now, we have a whole setup here. Make sure she's moisturized. We have a whole setup here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Welcome. Without further ado, let's get into the get in. Ring the bell is just my way of just coming to you all and touching base about some fierce things happening in the T and T. Giving you the tea about the T and T. How does that sound? Ollie giving me a little wardrobe check here. How's she looking tonight? Isn't she voluptuous? Isn't she radiant in red, darling? Yes. Welcome once again to all of you just tuning in. You are just in time. You are just in time because we're just getting started, right? So guess what? It's time for our very, very first segment on Ring the Bell called Hot Headlines. That's right. Our first segment tonight is called Hot Headlines, where I'll be checking in with you, chatting about some hot headlines in the news this week. Our first headline that we're going to touch base on is the 69 in Aruka. The 69 in Aruka. Now, I don't know if you know. I don't know if you've been in touch with the news. I don't know, what your situation status is. But last week, there was this big raid, big bust in Aruka. And 69 people were essentially rescued from what was a rehabilitation center of sorts on the Hott main road. Now, this place wasn't pack away behind a mountain, pack up, hush, hush, shoo, shoo, meh. No, this place was on the main road in the heart of Aruka. And it was apparently a rehabilitation center for people who are either falling into senility, for people who have mental health problems, or for people that suffer with addiction, drug addiction problems. When the police raided the place, it seems like these people were being held, some against their will, some of their own will, but they were being held in cages. That's right, cages. if only think ice was bad. You see, we like to look out and think, oh, in foreign, things so XYZ. But right here in the very own Trinidad, we had 69 people being held in cages. Like prisoners, being handcuffed to the places. The cages were locked. Now, to be very honest with you, yes, handcuffed to beds. To be very honest with you, I mean, the only thing I found very, very, very suspicious about the entire situation was the timing of the news story. The timing of the news story. Now, not only the timing of the news story, but the fact that on one newscast in particular, they took the entire 45 minutes of news to give us this whole story. Sometimes we have to be a little more aware of what is really happening when they put something in front of our face. But at the same point in time, this rehabilitation center that was really run by a church, by a pastor. Let's say it again. This rehabilitation center that was run by a church, run by a pastor, was nothing short of inhumane. Now, it seems like the government, the Ministry of Health, has been supporting them for a while. They sent and did checks a while ago, and they said that, you know, the place was unsuitable and they needed to do things to keep up. But evidently, none of that has been done. None of that has been done. None of it has been followed up on. Nobody shut down the place and say, oh, until they get it together and further notice, you can't operate. No, it was just like, all right, well, this place, And all of a sudden now everybody is saying they never knew they had all these cages. Let me come. Hey, let me come closer. Yes, they're saying that they never knew that all these cages existed and that these were the conditions under what was being held. So, the other question that came up is, what about the family members? You mean to tell me you had family members on the news that Monday morning talking about, oh, I didn't know it was like this. I didn't know it was so bad. Did you really come to check? Did you check on your family member? You send your tanty here. Thank you, Rena Christian, they damn lie. You send your family member here X years ago. Some people have been there for like 3 years. You send your good auntie, tanty, Nenen here X years ago, either because they were suffering from whatever, and with the hopes of them getting help. And you mean to tell me you ain't check back up on them? Now they have things where they say, you know, when they came to check on them, the people weren't really being held in cages, it didn't look that way, and all kind of story. Once again in Trinidad, all kind of story. It is very, very, very sad. And it also ties in very much to human trafficking and the fact that we have to be aware. We have to be aware. We can't just take things for granted. And yes, Nina, you know, somebody was just happy to get them out to the, you know, get this problem off their hands. So that was one of the hot headlines this week that really, really bothered me. And I could go on and on and on about that, but we're still in the first segment, right? We are still in the very first segment, the hot headline segment of Ring the Bell. So let's move on to the next headline. Oh. So that was our first segment for tonight. That was called Hot Headlines. Ooh. Oh gosh, what are they drinking? What are they doing? What are they doing tonight on this good Monday night? Come and join me in my boudoir. What are you doing? Anyway, it's time for our next segment. If you haven't guessed by now, I will be ringing my bell to introduce every segment, right? The next segment is called Double T, It's Story Time! Now wait, before we get into story time, are you taking in this darling bell? Are you getting into the opulence? The opulence that is. Thank you, girl. I love the bell too. Thank you. You just put on some ramen noodles. Yes, girl. Anyway, I have to stick to my script because I don't have all the hair whole night. So our next segment is story time. Now, the name of this story, and therefore will be the name of this segment, is called The Hot Hold Up. Now for this segment, excuse me, I'm not going to be looking at my screen and interacting with your comments too much because I will definitely lose my train of thought. Because you know she's a bitch is easily getting to the gettings. As she see a little drama start happening, as she get a little interaction, she decide, oh. So yes, let's get into it. Story time. The name of this story, every week I will bring you another story. Now, disclaimer, the story is just that. It's not a story, it's a story. And by story, it means many times these stories are based in reality. They may have occurred to me, occurred to somebody close to me. They may have been something I heard on a maxi taxi coming down the road. They may be embellished. They may be embellished with details that are not necessarily of the 100% truth. However, none of this is your business. Neither will you know which of those above selection of categories the stories come from. Just know it's story time and I'll be giving you a story. However, I will say this story tonight, since it's our first time. Why all in tell me now all this right. I have a kind of back to front setup here. Hey girl, I have a kind of back to front setup here. So sometimes I just be touching it. I don't know which direction it's going in. As I do so, it looking so. So yes, this story is very important to me. As I told you, the name of this story is called The Hott Hold Up. The Hott Hold Up. And this is because last week was World Mental Health Day. And so as this is our first time here together, I wanted to give you a story which is very much true. It's very much a story from my life. It's not anything that I've shared in a public setting at any point. But it is very much true. So here we go, story time. The Hott Hold Up. It's not let me wet my palate to get in. Last year, I was preparing for a Christmas show. If you don't know, that was the Miss Christmas Cabaret. That was at the Big Black Box on the Marie. And it was quite a dynamic preparation process. I was really digging into parts of my life and trying to figure out, girl, what am I going to bring to the people? About 2 weeks before the actual show, at the time, I was living in the Brook of Wood. Right? I was living in the Brook of Wood at the time. And I was living on my own. But I still kept in touch with my family, and that night in particular, I went down to my family and we had dinner, and I was coming back home. I was with my mother and my sister, darling, the women of the family, the ladies of the family who were having a little kiki that night. And so we drove back to my apartment, and just now let me fix me. Oh! Thank you. Behave, no man. You ain't see we enter Tory time. We enter Tory time and you decide to act up now. In the Brook of Wood, the women of the family had just driven back down, and I was getting out of the car. I had a couple paraphernalia with me, and I was going to my apartment. And as soon as I reached the gate to my apartment, I just see a hand, something silver, and this thing watching me and telling me, give me the keys, give me the keys. Give me the keys, give me the keys. Now, it took me a minute, if I be very honest with you. It took me a minute. At first I was like, what in the baby Jesus is going on here? Because to be very honest with you, this child, this didn't look like no man. It looked like a child. He looked like no older than 16, 17. The milk that was gushing in the face. Second of all, he holding the silver thing, so I'm saying it's a caps gun. Because I didn't know. I mean, yes, okay, to have silver gun, but really and truly, who getting a silver gun in it? It just looked to me, I think maybe a part of my brain couldn't really compute all that was exactly happening. And I'm thinking to myself, give me the keys, give me the keys. What is this little boy on this goodly, I can't remember, it was a weekday, maybe a Thursday night, 10 p.m. It wasn't even late. It wasn't even making our work, coming back home from clocking, punching the clock, and it was late. No, it was just basic, 10 o'clock at night. Give me the keys, give me the keys. So the first thing that is going through my mind is, my mother is behind me and my sister in the car. So it's only when he holding out this gun and telling me, give me the keys, I realize, okay, it's a robbery. It's a stick up. Boop, boop, it's a stick up. And it just all started to compute. So the first thing I did is I lock eyes. I just lock eyes one time. And I don't know about all of you, but a girl like Jenny, I really have one weapon, and that weapon is my voice. So I proceed to open my voice, and out comes of me this roar. It wasn't a scream, it wasn't a yelp, it wasn't a cry, it was a roar. Girl. A roar. And as that roar starts, I just continue to repeat out of the bowels of my soul. I know Father, Mother, God was with me, because out of the bowels of my soul, this roar just started to come out. And I am locking eyes with this young man who's still trying to utter. Now, mind you, give me the keys, give me the keys. I have more bass in my kiss me ass voice than this poor child. I have more bass in my voice than this poor child. And I'm saying to myself, who sent you? Little boy, who sent you? You supposed to be home, sitting down in your mother's house, suppling from she breast this hour of the night, not in the middle of the people's street, interfering with the children of God. Interfering with the children of God. Get I open my mouth and I roar, till I realize I stepping forward and Mr. Gunman stepping back. And the more I roar and press forward with the roar, the more Mr. Gunman step back. So guess what? I continue locking eyes and I press on roar, motherfucking roar, bitch. Until we reach a point where Mr. Gunman now, he was on my side of the street when we first bounced up. By the time I done roar, he is now on the next side of the street. And it's only when I realize it's his back against the wall of the next side of the street. And so both are we still... He back against the wall now, and I stand up watching him, and you know it was about to come out the mouth again. But before it could come out the mouth again, he gets some kind of other strength. Something else possess him, and holding the gun, he decide, well, it's time. This is my last, final, only option. And boom. Mr. Man pulled the trigger. Now we are standing as close as this camera is from me, probably about 3 feet, 4 feet away. And this trigger goes off, the gun goes off, you hear the gunshot, you're smelling the gunpowder. But both of we still stand up watching each other in the face. Both of we still stand up here watching each other in the face. Young boy, who sent you, young boy? Because tonight was not your night. So as I realized that, I realized this gun went off. I realized my life now flashed in front of my eye. I realized the Lord have me, hold me in the bosom. And is now self a start to roar. Let me tell you, a new kind of roar come out of my soul there. Well, he really get tripped after that. Because, I mean, in his mind, that was supposed to be it. He was supposed to shoot me. Boom, end a transaction. He was to grab the keys out of the door, and that was supposed to be it. But guess what? Child of God, you are not. Child of God, you are not. Right? I literally jumped at this poor child. And he he didn't drop the gun. He tried to grab the keys that I had in my hand and skate off like a rat in the drain. Skate. When I tell you skate. And the same Usain Bolt speed pick up in my spirit because I went off after him, you know. Or they didn't want nothing with me. I was eating dasheen and yellows and yam all my life. If they see me on the street that night, let me tell you, I went off after him. I don't know where I really thought I was going, but let me tell you, when adrenaline in your body, it is really say when a man have adrenaline in the body, not that I am mad. When you have adrenaline in your body, you can achieve things. But the spirit of wisdom and sense overtake me, and I decide, listen, me ain't running after no boy this hour of the night. Right? The whole situation kind of came to a cap. Thank God I still had my life. My mother was still in the streets behind me shouting, Jesus! Oh! And my mother was calling on the name of the Lord and calleth on that name in your time of trouble. And my darling sister was still sitting down in the car. Well, she now was even more, petrified. She didn't know what to do. She was in poor shock. And yeah, from that point, I went in the apartment, called the police. We went on a little goose hunt, goose chase, looking for this poor child. I mean, I don't know what sense that make, because then it turned into just a rat race to find any little black boy. You understand? The police was getting on us though. I was really shocked. I mean, okay, yes, I understand I'm a victim in this situation, but they was just pulling up on any little black boy in Woodbrook like, does he suspect it? No, I gave you a very specific description, and if this boy don't match the description, leave the child in peace. It was a whole fury of emotions. Needless to say, whoa, they give me a minute. Needless to say, that night, I realized, well, it wasn't the night, it was the next day, and I was telling the story to somebody. They kind of put things in perspective to me. I realized, you know, this was one of the times in which I really faced death. You know, a man watched me with a gun 3 feet from me and shot at me. And thank God for the good Lord. Protection, goodness, mercy. And you know, they say when it's your time, it's your time. But if it ain't your time, do. If it ain't your time, how? That's not the end of my story. Truth be told, I spent some time, I'm very glad I'm safe too, thank God. I spent some time after that, well, I was very busy with work, and so I kind of kept myself busy until about a month after the reality of the trauma really set in. And then I had to take about 3 to 4 months off of life, literally. I left my job, I moved back home with my family. I did absolutely nothing for about 3 months, and just took that time to reflect and also to get my health right. In the grand scheme of things, my body somehow registered exactly where that bullet would have pierced me. Because for a time after, I had this pain right in my little left stomach area, and that's exactly where he aimed the gun at. Once again, the brain is so powerful, the brain would record things that you don't realize how trauma develops, how it is recorded, and then how you deal with it after. It's not a XYZ 1, 2, 3 basic, you know. So I spent 3 months, about 4 months actually, in just recovery. Taking care of my physical health, taking care of my mental health, my spiritual health, my emotional health, everything. Tapping back in, tuning in, taking some time to tune in and say, wow, what really, really happened to me, and taking some time to give thanks too. You know, to kind of take cognizance of, wow, this is my life. These are the people in my life. These are the things in my life, and this is what really matters, what, you know. And that now is almost a year ago. So give thanks. I am so grateful to be able to come on this live chat with you all tonight. And kiki re, because life is precious. But that's not the end of the story. The reason why I brought up this story is because I want to talk about mental health and trauma and PTSD and how these things really affect us. So as I told you, that was about almost a year ago now, because it happened at the end of November last year. And now we're almost at the end of October. This year, probably about 2 months ago, or maybe a month ago now, I was going through a very stressful period. We were working on a project, and we were in the middle of the project, and I realized, wow, I am stressed. I am stressed, and I wasn't taking cognizance of the amount of stress that we were under, that I was under, really. And all I kept telling me, my brassiere keep on popping up. Y'all don't care, I know. You're so gracious. But if my darling mother only see me. Yeah, so as I was saying, we were working on a project. It was really stressful. And one night I went to sleep, good as ever. And that night I had a dream. And in the dream, this was one of the most visceral dreams I've had in a very long time. In the dream, I bonks up Mr. Gunman again. And I don't know where we was, what we was, but I managed to get my hands on Mr. Gunman, and I put a beating on that child. Let me tell you, I put a beating on that child like I have never seen, heard, experienced before. And I remember waking up from this dream, and the dream was so visceral that I woke up literally shaking. When I tell you shaking, see this I giving you here, this is a bounce. This is a bounce. But girl, no, I literally woke up shaking. Absolutely shaken from this dream, from how visceral it was. And I went into another month of shock. The same thing happened where every single night after that I was plagued with anxiety. Every time I tried to go to sleep, my heart would start racing and different things would come back to me. Sometimes the scent of the gunpowder would just kind of, I'd just start smelling something like, what is that? Am I smelling? I'm lying on in my bed, doing nothing. And I'm like, what am I smelling? What, And it just came back to me in a way that also too, I am not a violent person. I am not a woman of violence. So executing this violence upon somebody in the dream, I think, was even more of a shock to my system, because it's like, where's this come? That is not I. That is not I. I still remember the boy face. And if I saw him right now, it wouldn't be here nor day. I have no business with you and what you chose to do that night. And it ain't my business to follow up neither. The dear Lord will take care of you, and preferably He will have mercy on your darling soul. Because I pray for mercy. The amount of things I do, I pray for mercy. And so that's why I just wanted to bring this up, because mental health is so real. Sometimes we go through traumas, we go through things, whether it be big experiences, small experiences, they affect us in different ways. Sometimes they resonate and they begin to get trapped in different parts of the body. And unless we take some time to take cognizance of our mental health, we might find ourselves in a situation where it's like, girl, what is happening? What is happening? And in this day and this time, mental health not sparing anybody. Your social status, your how beautiful it is, how many likes you have on Instagram, your job, whether you're the CEO of wherever, mental health spares no one, And when we talk about mental health, there's an entire gambit of things, from dealing with trauma to people who have bipolar disease, mental health diseases, things where the brain is not being wired properly, and there's an imbalance happening. And so this whole umbrella of mental health, I'm so happy that last week was Mental Health Awareness Day, but it's important for us each in our own lives to kind of take a little stock, take a little cognizance. Sometimes you think to yourself, nah man, that ain't nothing, I don't deal with that, I move on, I press on, I good. And 5 years later, something pop at it, hey, something arise in your spirit, and you say, what? Where she come out? That was my segment called Tory Time. That was my Tory for this week, and as I told you, it is a true story. And even in recounting it to you, there are parts of myself, my life, my body that could still experience it, and it's something that I'm still working through, as we all are. We all have things, whether it be trauma from family, trauma from, we all have things that we're still working through. And so it's important for us to honor each other as we go along these journeys. And protect yourself, not just protect yourself physically in this space and in this time, but protect yourself emotionally, mentally. And yes, you're right, we don't have proper resources in the public healthcare system or, to deal with mental health issues, but it doesn't mean that we don't have resources. It doesn't mean that where there is not a will, there is a way. Because I firmly believe that on this little 2x4 island, that ain't no 2x4, if you be honest with yourself, Trinidad is in New York of the Caribbean. Did we not just speak about the 69 that were being held in Aruca? And all you thought is only Trump was holding little children and big people in cages? It's happening right here. So there are resources, there are things out there are people out there for you to get your mental health on track, get it dealt with. And that's very important. So that was the end of my second segment called Tory Time. Oh, how y'all doing? How you doing? Just doing a quick check-in. How you doing? Let me see you on the live. Loverboy Aaron. Loverboy Aaron, you look stunning, darling. Thank you. Love the bell, girl. I love it too. Isn't it just a work of art? Let's talk about this other work of art now. Are you all getting into this other work of art here? Yes. So, my third and final segment for tonight is, of course, because it's me, this segment is called Love is Love. Oh, love is love. Woo! Love is, no, I'm not going to sing Love is Love to you every week. I mean, girl, by week number 2, we'll be over it. No, Love is Love is a segment where I asked you earlier on in this week some questions, to send me some questions about love, relationships, situationships, the men's, the boys, the women's, the days, the everything's in between, the problems that she's having with them, and any advice that you would like. Don't worry, I won't be charging you tonight, but in the future I'm sure you'll be paying for my advice. So this segment is called Love is Love! Alright, the first question that came to me is, what are your views on polyamory? You know, I'm being very frivolous, but yeah, that is my advice. How do you deal, how do you move on from a relationship? Moving on is about moving in. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what? That brings us to the end. I know, my heart hurts for you, but my heart doesn't hurt for me because I can't wait to get out of this dress. But that brings us to the end of the very first episode of Ring the Bell. As I said, Ring the Bell is just a Monday night live show on the Instas. I will post it on YouTube. I'll post the video of tonight. I'll post it on YouTube the next day. This will be up for the 24 hours. And then, yeah, you'll be able to watch it on YouTube anytime you want. So thank you all. Thank all. How many ever of you? At one point we had 45 people here. I am so grateful. Thank you all for tuning in. It was an absolute delight to chat with you tonight, to kiki kaka, to ring the bell on different topics. And hopefully next Monday, as I said, it's not going to be every Monday, so you have to stay tuned. You have to keep in touch. Keep your finger on that pulse, yes? Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube especially. Subscribe. It's all at Ms. Janae. In case you missing, that's MIZZJINNAY. And before I leave you, we'll just hum out with what? How? Oh. How? Yes. Love is love. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all for joining me for Ring the Bell. This was our first pilot episode. Love is love.